Yo, what up? Welcome to Mo Boxing No Problem. I'm Jose Martinez Jr., and today I'm joined by a special guest. We got pro boxer Michael Zerafa. How's it going, Michael?
Good, brother. Good. How's things with you?
Everything going well. Thank you so much for making the time.
No worries at all, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Before we get into the questions, I do have a clip of some of your previous fights, so people that aren't too familiar with you can kind of get a feel for fight style. So let me go ahead and get that played. And there you have it. You got quite the power there, Michael.
I'm knocking everyone out, brother. I've knocked out 20 out of 30, so we're doing well.
Yeah, no, I was cringing just feeling those power shots, man. That's some power you quite have there.
In my early days. Now we're a lot neater now. We're a lot sharper and more technical.
Absolutely. So I want to start with the kind of our simplest question of the night. Like asking everyone kind of how they got their start in the sport. So how did you get into boxing?
I started about 7 years old. I just loved the sport. I remember watching Roy Jones Jr. back in the days, and I knew I just wanted to be a professional boxer. Knowing I could have that one fight to change my friend and family's life motivated me. I knew I had the discipline, the dedication, and the work ethic. So for me, I walked in a boxing gym, and first pair of gloves I put on, I didn't want to take them off. I knew that this was the path for me, and I haven't looked back. Now, I'm 30 years old now, so 23 years ago.
Long journey for sure.
Long journey, a very, very long journey.
Perfect. What a comment from Sports and Tunes says, "What up, champs? Wish I could jump on." So salute to Sports and Tunes.
Sports and Tune. What's happening?
And then, Michael, I do want to ask you about your nickname. We have another very famous boxer with that nickname early on, Pretty Boy. But how did you get that nickname?
So obviously it's not for my looks. They gave it to me in my early amateur days. I was very neat, very tidy. They said, he's very pretty to watch. And, the ring announcer, the MC said, the Pretty Boy. And, my whole career, every time I fought, it just kept sticking with me. Pretty Boy Zerafa, Pretty Boy Zerafa. And then funny enough, I turned professional. And for my first 2 or 3 fights, it was the same ring announcer, the same MC.
Oh, wow.
So he just introduced me as Michael Pretty Boy Zerafa. And unfortunately, it just stuck. So, I just got to roll with it now. I don't look too bad for 34 fights. But, yeah, man. I tried to get rid of it, but just I wanted something dangerous, like the bomber or the knockout king or something. But unfortunately, I got the Pretty Boy, so we're just rolling with it.
There you go. And then something that you got to fill me in on, Michael, because I saw a lot of it looking at articles for you. But I believe now you're known as the villain of Australian boxing. Does that have to do with with you pulling out the Tim Tszyu fight, or what's that about?
Yeah, look, there's I've just the way I go about my business. I'm very people think it's cocky. It's just confident. I'm very I just believe in my ability. I what I think is what I say. And there was a lot of controversy with the whole Tim Tszyu fight. We never pulled out of a fight. I fought bigger names in worse conditions with worse money. We fought Cal Brook, we fought Peter Quillen, I fought Arif Magomedov, Jeff Horn twice, Anthony Mundine. I never pulled out of the Tim Tszyu fight. There was just what was promised and what was delivered were two different things. And like I said, there's two sides to every story. There's their side, my side, and the truth. And that fight's going to happen. And if you look now, the truth will come out because we're both in a situation now where he's going to fight for his world title, I'll fight for my world title. If we both win, we'll unify. If he loses, I'm his second shot at the world title. And if we both lose, we'll fight each other. So people will start realizing what the actual plot of the plan was. And that's the biggest fight in Australian boxing, Zerafa v. Tszyu.
Yeah, that's gonna be huge. And just for you personally, like there's a lot of big names tied to fight you next. Like,
Yeah, man.
I heard there was an offer for a Jaime Munguia fight. What happened with that?
Yeah, look, he reached out to me. Our teams were in negotiations and whatnot, and You know, again, there's always two sides to every story. We got told that he didn't want a risky fight, you know, but I don't believe that. Mungia, you know, he's never shied away from anyone, you know, at that level. You know, respectfully, he's a good fighter. He's a strong fighter. So I don't believe that he didn't want to fight me because I was a risky fight. You know, maybe the money wasn't right or whatnot. So, you know, full respect to him. But, you know, that was a fight we wanted. That's why I train. You know, I train twice, 3 times a day. I'm a fighter. Whether I win, lose, or draw, I want to fight the best. I'm not scared to fight anybody. I've proven that in my career. You know, I've had losses. You know, I've stepped up and tried to test myself, and that's what I want. I want to retire. You know, my favorite fighter is Miguel Cotto. You know, and I want to go out like him. You know, he had losses but fought everybody, and that's what I want to be known for. You know, in Australia, I fought everyone. I beat everybody here in Australia. You know, and I tried to test myself overseas and fell short. You know, I fought the best. At 21, I fought Peter Quillen. You know, it was early in my career. You know, and boxing over there is different to here. You know, in Australia, I'm the main event fighter here. You know, fighting in front of 5,000 people in local town halls. You know, like
Right.
to then go overseas and fight in stadiums. You know, against Cal Brook and you know in Russia against Arif Magomedov and all these big names that I fought. It's a different level. And
Mhm.
you know, now at 30 years old, I've been all around the world. I've sparred the best. I've been in training camps. I worked alongside Manny Pacquiao and you know Freddie Roach and all those guys when I was in America. And you know now I've just signed with you know Elvis Grant as my manager. You know, so I've got good things in the pipeline, and I've got now I've got an American style, I believe, and you know I think overseas is where I need to be, and that's where I'm heading. I'm coming over to LA and I'm there to rustle up some feathers to shock the world.
There you go. And then we got a comment again from Sportsman Soon. He said, "Boxing needs villains and bad boys."
100%, 100%. Full respect to that comment. You know, boxing's boring in Australia. You know, that's why they call me the villain here because you got two guys that are sitting there saying, you know, oh, all the best and I hope I win. And that's not boxing. You know, boxing we're about to fight. You know, we're about to go out there and knock out your two front teeth. You know, and that's what the sport needs. You know, you need people to watch the sport. You know, like you want to sell the fight. You want bums on seats. You want to make it. You know, everyone be like, shit, this fight's going to be awesome. You know, in
Yeah.
Australia they don't do that. You know.
No, I agree. And then going back to your options, you know, I saw you basically linked to two potential title fights. So, you know, on the IBF side, you have the Brazilian fighter Escobar Falcao as a potential option. And then you got another, which I would say probably more lucrative option for the WBA with the Triple G versus Lara winner. You know, who would you rather fight, or do you have a preference for which title to go after?
For me, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. You know, if it goes down the IBF path, you know, God willing, I fight Falcao, I'll beat Falcao. I take the IBF off him. You know, if I because there's talks that Lara is going to fight Danny Garcia. You know, and Golovkin, you know, has looked at me as an easy option because I'm obviously sitting at number one now. And for me, like I said, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. If I had to pick, man, like I'm a big fan of Triple G. Golovkin's my man. I'd love
Mhm.
to share. I'd be an honor to share the ring with him and you know give him my absolute all. And you know obviously the money will be a lot bigger there, so it's a win-win for me. You know you can't lose when you're fighting guys like you know Gennady. It's a win-win. You know financially, you know getting the world title opportunity, and on a world stage. You know this is where I get to showcase my ability. You know I showcased it with
Mhm.
Cal Brook. Everyone thought I was going to get knocked out in the first round, and you know it was looking that way. You know, I was a little bit starstruck. Got in the ring at 25 years old, and I was like, man, this is another level. You know, Cal Brook, who I used to watch when I was a kid, and then by round 4 or 5, I was like, you know, well, I'm in this fight, and then I started turning it around, and you know, I dug deep, and I went 12 rounds with him. But yeah, Golovkin would probably be the one I choose. You know, he's the man I want.
Yeah, that would be a legacy fight. Huge, huge
Yeah,
name.
man, 100%. That's what I mean. Imagine that talking after my career. You know, I've been in the ring with, you know, Peter Quillen and Cal Brook and, you know, Riff Magomedov, Jeff Horns and, you know, Anthony Mundane's, Gennady Golovkin. Like, that's what I want. You know, I want that, you know, Zerafa never shied away from anybody. Win, lose, or draw, I wear my heart on my sleeve. And that's what it's about, man. It's about these guys all want to be fighters, but they don't want to fight anybody. You know,
No,
these guys are like,
very
oh,
good.
yeah, I'm the best, but oh, I don't want to fight him and I don't want to fight him. It's like, man, test yourself. You know, you're in the sport to test yourself, and that's what I want to do. I just want to test myself.
Yeah, I mean, no sense protecting that. Oh, you know,
Correct. Yeah, man. You got to lose. If you haven't lost, you haven't fought anybody, and I truly believe that. You know, I've been knocked down a few times in my career, you know, 2 or 3 times, and I've fought the best and got beaten by the best. But yeah, it doesn't shy away from you know giving an opportunity and being scared. I don't fear anybody. You know, he's got 2 arms and a head. just the same as me. And at
Yep.
the end of the day, it comes down to who wants it more. You know,
Yeah,
I'm hungry.
absolutely. Yep. And then we have a question again from Sports and Tune. He's asking if you rock with the Before the Fight channel.
Yeah, I've done a few things with them. Yeah, they're good, man. Rob Shrife, he gets behind the Aussie boxing stuff, and yeah, I've done a few interviews with him. A few interviews with him.
Nice. Yeah, we had him on the show once. He's a really great guy.
Yeah, he's good too. He gives back to the boxing community, and gives guys a little bit of a channel to give themselves a plug and stuff like that. But I think he's involved obviously with the Cambosis fight and stuff because that's all happening tomorrow night for us. So yeah, he's busy. He's tied up at the moment, I reckon.
I bet he is. And then I want to talk about your last 6 victories. Those have all been by stoppage. So we mentioned kind of your power just coming on of late. Is that something that you're like training for in the gym, or is just the knockout just coming?
Look, as I'm getting older, I'm just maturing into my body. I'm 30 years old now, and people think, and I used to think the same thing, 30 and on, it's too old, but it's the opposite, it's young and dumb. When I was 24, 25, I used to chin in the air and just try to fight my way through. But now I'm sitting back on my shots now, and my boxing IQ is real lifting. And, I'll set 3 or 4 shots to make sure I land that 5th one. And I'm just taking my time. I'm a 12-round fighter. I've boxed a lot of 12-rounders. Even when I'm sparring, I say it all the time in the gym. If I spar 4 rounds, I get bashed, even against amateurs. It takes me 4 rounds to just start, warming up and start really feeling myself in there and start, stepping up the rounds. But I'm just really finding the range, finding the distance, and finding what I'm capable of doing. Landing that right hands. Even in sparring, when I land, they stay hit. And a lot of people, see me and they don't. My looks and my power and my aggression and my ability don't match. They think I'm just this, like I said, pretty boy and just suited up and nice and relaxed. But I'm a different guy come fight night.
No, absolutely. And then, speaking of stoppages, your first KO loss was at the hands of Peter Quillen. What did you recall from that fight, and what did you learn from it?
Well, I found the first time I find out that you guys do things a lot different. I went over there and the guy I faced off with at the weigh-in to the guy that jumped in the ring was 2 different people. He was 20 kilos heavier, and I only put on about 1.5 kilos. So it was a good learning curve. But you look for those 4 or 5 rounds, I was in there with him. I didn't take a backward step. He had sledgehammers in his hands. He was super strong. But again, it's a learning curve. And I bounced back. You know what I mean? Like I said, some of my greatest successes come from my losses. And I lost that fight, came back to Australia, had a real think about myself, and said, you know what, let's just bounce back. It's the only way. There's no point in sitting back and sooking over it. It's time to get back in the gym. It's time to work. It's time to just lay low and just hustle and grind. And now, 5, 6 years later, 7 years later, I'm now number 1 in the WBA, 2 in the IBF, top 5 in the world. So everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that. God's plan was for me to lose that fight. I truly believe that.
I mean, and then hard work always pays off, as you can see now. You're back on the top.
Exactly
You're
right.
climbing way up.
Peter Quillen's retired now. He's not fighting, and I'm now. I've had that loss, but at the end of the day, I'm getting that last laugh. You know what I mean? Like my career's still going. I'm top 5 in the world, and I'm getting a world title shot soon. So for me, like I said, everything happens for a reason, and I just truly believe that that was my destiny. That was my path. I was destined to lose those fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Peter Quillen retired after his first loss, if I recall correctly. So,
Yeah. Well, at the time, because there was the 4 of us. It was me, Peter Quillen, Daniel Jacobs, and Golovkin. And it was like an eliminator. So me and Peter Quillen fought, and the winner of me and him, obviously he beat me, fought Jacobs. And the winner out of Jacobs and Quillen fought Golovkin, and that was obviously Jacobs. So if I had to beat Peter Quillen and Jacobs, I would have fought Triple G 7 years ago. And thank God I didn't, because I was not ready for that fight.
Like you said, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to another one of your previous fights. This one against Jeff Horn. So you had the 2 fights against him. The first one you won, but then the second one, you lost. You didn't have a decision. So what was the difference? Because you got the stoppage the first time. What was the difference in the rematch?
Man, I don't know if you read up on it. There was a lot of controversial, comments and decisions were made that should not have been made. Like I knocked him out in the first fight, and the second fight, look, he came a little bit tougher. But again, the fight should have been stopped in the 9th round. I had him gone again. The ref, a minute and a half in the round, the ref stops and says he needs a rest. And, they gave him a rest to redeem himself, and he comes back with an overhand right. And even if you watch the fight, I don't even know how they gave it to him on points, because I was ahead on the points, and they give it to him on a split decision. But credit to him. He got the W. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of backlash for that fight, and that referee ended up having to quit his job because he was just getting a lot of heat for that. He made a decision. I was getting referees all around the world were reaching out to me saying, "Mate, you got robbed." I was like, I've never seen it in 30 years of living. They stopped the round. I'm hitting him, and they're like, oh, he needs a rest. I'm like, what are you talking about? To give a fighter a minute rest during a round, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make much sense. All right.
So,
We got a question for Sports and Soon. What does he think about a fight with Charlo?
Look, man. Again, he's a very dangerous man. He makes a lot of. He has a lot of bad habits. I think he lunges in a lot, but he backs it with his power. His boxing IQ is very, very good. Again, it'd be a very hard fight to have, but I'm up for the challenge. Full credit to both Charlos. Not the one that's just in my division. Both Charlos are dominating the sport, but I'd be keen. I'd be 100% keen for that fight. Why would I? That's how you make a name. That's how legacy is made. By fighting these guys. Everyone thought I was going to get knocked out by Jeff Horn after he beat Manny Pacquiao. And then the next fight I ended up knocking him out. So, for me, again, I love the test. I love the challenge. I love being the underdog. The underdog for me is key. The pressure. There's no pressure when you're the underdog. You go in there and the silent assassin.
Right, absolutely. And then, Michael, I know you fought in the U.S. before, but have you ever fought in Mexico?
No, I haven't. I did a sparring camp there. Is it Tijuana? Is that Tijuana? And I went down there because I was training in Freddie Roach's gym at Wildcard, and me, Ray Beltran, and all that. We ended up going down that way and doing a bit of sparring up there. But it's a beautiful place, tough area. And the boxers there, it's a different level. Like I said, the Americans and Mexicans, and they're another level to us. There's a few of us down here that have that American, that style. Like myself and a few others down here. We try to, we've been molded to that American style. Lucky enough going around the world and having training camps and stuff like that. And I've kind of picked up that American style, but it's just a different level over there, man. You guys are different ahead.
Yeah, and then speaking of preparation, how do you prepare for fights? Are you typically watching tapes on your opponents? Or are you mostly focusing on you and making improvements based on your last performance?
I just focus on me. Like obviously my team, I let my team do all that, and I trust in my team. But I don't really like watching fighters, because if you type in now, if I type in Charlo, and if I'm fighting or Golovkin, and you're going to see all their highlights. You're going to see them, being absolutely beast mode. If I type in Mike Tyson, it's going to show me, 20 of Mike Tyson's biggest knockouts, and all these great, attributes and what he's good at and so I just, I focus on me, try to get better in the gym, do what I've got to do. And then, when it comes fight night, I try to, take it round by round and slowly implement my game plans. I start getting that distance, I start getting my range, then I start putting my punches together and start, breaking them down as the rounds go by. And then, if I can take them to deep waters, I'll try to drown them.
Absolutely. And then for my next question, Michael, what are your thoughts on the Australian boxing scene? I think you guys have like two big events this weekend, right? The Kambosos Haney and I think the Liam Paro Brock Jarvis.
Jarvis, yeah, two good fights. Kambosos is a good friend of mine, and look, it's going to be a hard fight. It's going to be a very, very hard fight. He's got to come out a little bit different. Like when he fought Tiafoe, he's got to kind of walk up a little bit more. He can't. I was sparring, and was privileged to watch, Devin Haney spar as I was sparring the middleweight guys. You got Amari Jones, and you can't box Haney. His boxing IQ is very, very sharp. He's very quick. You think you're doing one thing and then he's doing another. I think Georgie's got to just walk forward, and like he did with Tiafoe, try to just make it a fight, make it a messy scrap of fight, And the Brock Jarvis fight, that's going to be a great fight. Brock's very big. Brock's my size, and he's fighting at 60 kilos or 58 kilos or whatever it is. And he's a big boy, but Paro's got the ability. He's very slick, very fast. So it's going to be an awesome fight. That's a matchroom show too. So the boxing scene in Australia, with myself, Tim Zhu, Paros and Georgie, we've put the sport a little bit on notice down here in Australia, which is good. We're turning, obviously not as big as America, or England, but we're turning heads here. we're starting to make a little bit of noise, and obviously being top 5 in the world now, and ranked across all 4 sanctioning bodies, it's good, And I like it. People say, "Who's this Zerafa kid? Who's a nobody?" Cool, I like that. I like when people say that because when it gets done, they're like, "Oh wow, this kid can fight."
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a lot more pressure being the A side and having
Yeah,
kind of
man,
all the
100%.
expectations.
If you're expected to win, people it puts more pressure on you. You're like, oh yeah, like you should blow him out in 4 rounds. Then when it gets to that 4th round, you're like, should I got to knock him out because everyone thinks I need to knock him out. That's
Hmm.
how I used to think when I was younger too. Now I box for Michael Zerafa. I don't box for I do because if you start boxing for everybody else and you start getting overwhelmed and you start rushing and you start just go in there and it's work. It's a job. I've got 36 minutes. I never plan a knockout. I never go looking for a knockout. I've got 36 minutes. I just do what I got to do. I just box, and then if I see it, I take it.
Absolutely. And then you mentioned, Mari Jones, who's out of Oakland, California. We got a comment here from Sportsman Tunes, kind of plugging, one of the boxers we know from here. He said we should get a sparring session with Sean Time. Does he know him? So have you heard of Sean Time?
Sean Tom. No, I don't know who that
Yeah,
is. No.
he's up and coming. So he's a 7-0 with 4 knockouts out of Sacramento, California. He had a fight recently in Los Angeles, came B side and got the stoppage victory. He's also in the same weight class as you, so he's coming up.
Oh, there you go. Oh man, maybe one day he'll retire me one day. Who knows? But
Yeah,
all the best to him and his career, and I look forward to seeing what he does. He sounds like he's going all right, 7-0, only up from here. So hopefully maybe when I'm in LA, because I'm heading over to LA very soon. Maybe we can get some rounds and yeah. But all the best to him, man.
that'd be great. Yeah, some sparring sessions would be awesome between you two.
100%, 100%.
All right. So let's see for my next question. Who has been the hardest puncher that you've been in the ring with?
Look, I'm going to have to say Peter Quillen because how it ended. But if I went, Jeff Horn was very, very strong. He came from all angles and he was, very, very, just like strong like an ox. Either Jeff Horn or the Russian, Arif Magomedov was pretty tough too. They just got different styles and they just generated so much power. Normally you got a strong right hand, but he had like a strong jab, strong hooks. He had strong everything. So I'll probably go, the Jeff Horn or the Russian Magomedov.
Oh, absolutely. And then, what would you say has been your best win in your career?
My best win would probably have to be the Jeff Horn win, because obviously I was the underdog. He just come off a huge win against Manny Pacquiao. And everyone, said the Zerafa would win the last 2 rounds with him. I ended up putting him down in the 2nd round, dropped him in the 9th round, stopped him in the 9th round. So I ended up putting him down 3 times, and then in the second fight did the same thing, but they gave it to him on a points decision. But I fought some pretty big guys. My last fight as well. I was like Hardman. He was the next up and comer in Australia. He was undefeated in 15 fights. He knocked everyone out. He had a UFC background as well, and he was undefeated in all combat sports. And he had a big mouth, and he did the crossover, and he was knocking everyone out. And then he was number 2 behind me in Australia, and I gave him the opportunity, and I ended up knocking him out in 2 rounds. So, for me, every fight is my biggest fight. Every fight moving forward is my best win. It means I'm doing something right. If I win my next fight, I'm doing something right. The one after that's even better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, who was your favorite boxer growing up?
Oh, Roy Jones Jr. Yeah, you can't. He was, an absolute don. He could do it all. He could box. He could brawl. He was pure entertainment. He was the reason why I got into boxing. I wanted to do the Roy Jones. Unfortunately, I wasn't nowhere near as good as him, but he was just an absolute king of the sport. And if I'm as half as him, I'm winning in life.
Have you ever reached out, try to get some tips from him?
Well, he was actually so I fought for the Commonwealth title down here. I fought a guy from England. I was meant to fight Adam Fowler. Is it Anthony Fowler? Sorry. And I ended up fighting Adam Harper, who was undefeated, and he was ringside. And
Oh,
we
nice.
were in the back rooms and we were talking. And he goes, "Man, you got a big career ahead of you." And he was he gave me the fight of the night. He said, "This kid's got a big future." So I was wrapped. I was like a little girl, man. I was like taking photos and selfies, and my mind was blown. I was like, "Man, Roy Jones Jr." I said, "Man, I'm a huge fan." but yeah, that was probably another huge highlight of my career.
That's awesome. Getting to meet your childhood hero and then
Yeah, yeah.
him praising you. That's amazing.
Sitting ringside watching me fight, I was like, man, this is nuts. And in the corner, I actually switched off because I was just looking at Roy Jones, like, where is he?
Yeah, and then Roy Jones definitely was one of the number one pound for pound fighters, back in his day. But current day, who would you say is the number one pound for pound fighter?
Whoa. All right, Miguel. Oh, well, Miguel Cotter's retired, but if I had to pick one that's still currently going right now, probably Golovkin. I like a big fan of Golovkin. Canelo, I mean, he's a big powerhouse, but for me, like I said, I'm a big Triple G fan. Just the way he goes about his boxing, even outside the ring. Champions aren't always in the ring. It's what they do in the
Hmm.
ring is awesome. Like, so I was a big fan of Canelo, but then he kept winning, and he got to this point where I know he kind of got a little bit arrogant, a little bit, which he can. He's Canelo Alvarez. He can do that.
Hmm.
He's
Yeah.
he's beating everybody, he's knocking everybody out. But the way he kind of went about it, same with Mayweather now. He's just fighting all these YouTubers, and had a phenomenal career, phenomenal boxer, the best pound for pound boxer in the world, and now he's doing all this stuff where Triple G, in the ring, he's an absolute champion. Outside the ring, he's humble. He's a
Yeah.
he's a good dude, man. So for me, I'll definitely go the GJG,
Yeah. Class act. Yeah. Triple J.
100%.
Yeah. And then what are the thoughts on your current division?
It's pretty stacked at the moment. We got Eubanks just come back down because of the whole Conor Ben stuff. There's a few guys in front of me that are pretty dangerous, but there's also a few guys behind me that are dangerous too. You got like Murata and all these other guys, that are behind me. But again, I just want to fight the best. To be the best, you got to beat the best. I don't want a title handed to me, and that's I'll say that even when I'm down in the media, in Australia here, I never want a title handed to me. I want to win
Hmm.
off, like Falcao. He became number one mandatory because he had a cut, and he goes, "Oh, I can't fight, I can't see," and then he was up on points. And, that's not a real champion. A real champion goes 12 rounds and gets the decision, or he's good enough to knock out the champion. So for me, that's what I want. I want to fight, and if I lose, it's just not meant to be. If I fight Triple G because that's my path, and I lose, it's it's just it wasn't meant to be. But if I can go out there and beat him and take the title off him, which is a huge ask, I know that. I'm not stupid, but if I
Hmm.
can do that, then that's God's plan, and that was my destined path to be the world champion.
No, yep, 100%. And then speaking of kind of boxing greats, what are some legends you got to meet in person? You obviously mentioned Roy Jones Jr. Who else?
Oh man, I've met everybody. Mike Tyson. I mean, when I was training overseas, obviously at Wildcard, the guys that rocked up. I had Sugar Ray Leonard when I fought Peter Quillen that was doing the commentary, and obviously Pacquiao, Cotto, and all those guys. Jose Ramirez and all these guys that are current and past. They were all in the gym there and got around me, and it was just good to see how they do it. Because in Australia, I believe we do a lot of things wrong. We can overtrain, we can undertrain, we can do certain things, and to be amongst all these greats, my favorite fight of all time is Miguel Cotto. But to watch would have obviously been Roy Jones Jr. But to walk in there and see him there, and just to move around with him and stuff like that was just absolutely crazy.
Absolutely. All right, so now we're moving on to our next segment, which we like to call kind of the boxing fan segment. It's where I'm gonna tell you 3 fights. These are either confirmed, rumored, and I want you to put your boxing fan hat on and tell me who you think would win out of these matchups.
Let's do it.
All right, so the first one I got for you, I think has been rumored: Demetrius Andrade versus David Benavidez.
I haven't even heard that, to be honest. I couldn't even tell you, to be completely honest. Yeah, wait, is that a rumor?
It's fairly new because I know Demetrius Andrade was meant to fight Zack Ryder, and then that fight didn't happen. And I think now I'm hearing that he's going to move to 168 to fight Benavidez.
I think
I don't know.
Benavidez beats him.
Too much power.
Too much power, too strong. And that's the thing. These guys go up divisions. They try to jump up divisions too quick. And I get like go up a division and fight. Don't fight a bum. But fight someone that's Benavidez is one of the biggest punches in the division. You don't go straight to him. But if I had to pick, I mean, I haven't heard the rumor, but if I had to pick, I pick Benavidez.
All right, perfect. And then this one I just made up based on the previous performance of Carlos Adames. But who would win at a Jaime Munguia versus Carlos Adames?
Oh man, I'm a fan of that Carlos man. He's a bit wild, but he's super strong. And one of my boys down in Australia, Benny Marnie, he was up in from Australia. He went there and did a training camp, and he goes, man, he has sledgehammers in both hands. So, but Munguia can punch too. Fuck, that's a good question. That's a good fight. It's a good fight. It needs to happen.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 fight. I love to see it.
50 fight. I'll probably go Munguia on experience.
Experience. Yeah, no. Talking about Adames, he had the common opponent with Charlo Montiel, and he handled
Yeah,
him
yeah,
much better than Charlo.
100%. And he looks strong, man. He's super powerful, explosive. He just gets a little bit wild at times, but with that much power, you kind of can because you're punching through their defense. But on experience, I might have to just go Munguia purely on experience.
All right, perfect. And then for the final fight, I want to ask you about this one. Potentially could be a confirmed fight. We will see. Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Davis.
Oof, the tank. I've got to be careful what I say here because I got good relationships with the Garcia team and management and stuff like that. So, look, another fight that needs to happen. Both undefeated and one's really fast, one's really strong. Oh, you're putting me on the spot here, bro. I'm gonna have to go Garcia.
Garcia. All right. I mean, it's another one that just needs to happen. We got to see who's
Another
the
one has to
best.
happen. Look, a hard fight. I mean,
Hard fight.
Tank's an absolute beast, and he's a very scary dude. But Garcia impressed me in his last fight. He's real sharp. His counters, his timing. Again, a fight that needs to happen.
Agree. All right. Coming back to you, Michael. What are some things that you like to do outside of boxing? What are some interests and hobbies of yours?
Man, I love nature. I love the green, man. I lay low. I really switch off sports. I don't really get into sports. I just switch off friends, family, and just man, like I love the forest, man. Getting out and about, nature, and just enjoying the sun. Not that we get it much down here in Australia, but when we do, you got to soak it up. Just enjoying just the downtime, man. Kicking back, just watching Netflix, just with my close loved ones, and just enjoying the downtime, man.
I can relate. That's a good one.
Yeah, man. A lot of people like to travel, and for me, man, I just like chilling out, and just relaxing, just being a kid. I'm 30, but just sitting on the couch, just eating lollies, having some chocolate, and just being a kid, man. Just enjoying the downtime.
There you go. And for my final question is not really a question, it's more kind of like an open forum. What's something you want to say to your fans and supporters?
Just want to say thank you for the love, all the support you guys give me. Without you guys, honestly, it isn't possible. I wouldn't be where I'm at now. And moving forward, there's always a spot for new Zerafa fans. I don't even like to say the word fans, new Zerafa supporters. There's plenty of room for new guys to jump on board. And I love you guys, man. You guys are absolute champions.
Well said. And if you want to be a new Zerafa supporter, in the banner below, you can see where you can follow him on Instagram. So Michael_Zerafa, so you can be up to date with all his latest, boxing career moves. Do we have a target date for your next fight, Michael, or is that still playing out?
I'll be up in LA this month, and it's looking like December 11. Nothing's 100% confirmed yet, but the talks now they want to put it on the WBA convention. And me, Sergio Martinez, and a few others will get on there and fight. But like I said, I'm just grateful and show your support, show your love. Jump on my Instagram. If there's any questions you guys want to shoot out and ask, don't hesitate, man. I've got time for everybody and nothing but love. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We got Sports and Soon says thank you, champ. Keep being great.
God bless. Thank you very much.
He says I'm following.
Champion, thank you.
And he's close to LA too, so there you go.
Awesome. Maybe hit me up. We'll catch up for a coffee.
Absolutely, man. Well, Michael, thank you so much for making the time. It's always a pleasure, kind of learning your career progression, your story, and we're looking forward to seeing you back in the ring and fighting for a title really soon.
God bless, brother. It means a lot, and I appreciate the support, man. Much love.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again, champ.
Take care, brother. Enjoy.
All right, take care.
Ciao.